guess we can talk a little bit about PDBs today. There's a lot of them out there. I don't know how you like yours or how you don't like yours, but I've seen some new ones now that have through holes for the ESCs and battery. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I've never pulled a battery lead off my PDB yet, but um, I'm not a bad solder guy either, so uh, these are laid out here. I think in terms of price, I think this one's like maybe $15, and this one's maybe $10, and this one's maybe $9, and this is probably $5. Um, these are all the same 30 by 30 and a half mounting screw holes, but this one has no mounting whatsoever. This one I just got to actually take a look at. It looks like it's got this little side thing on here, so it makes it a little bigger than the 36 by 36 format square of the boards, so it's going to stick out one side. Also, this one, the Happy Model CA or 2C4, it says CC3D here and something in Chinese, but the Happy Model, it looks as if the ESCs you can solder on the top, but there's no battery mount or battery lead, and there's no VBAT or way to send power to the flight controller so it can tell you what volts you have in your battery. But again, it has the battery connectors on the back and the VCC on the back, so at least it has it. You have to keep it up off the floor. You'll have to, in order to put it in your quad or whatever you're using it for, you're going to have to keep it up in order to get the battery and the VCC out. It does have 5 and 12 volts on board, and it's got a shield over it. And that's nice because this stuff gets pretty hot sometimes. Not that I've had a wire melt on me or something short out yet. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But that's that one. That's the least expensive with onboard 5 and 12 volts. This one has, it's got 5 volts here, and then it says VTX here. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to hold it upside down for you. This one. But right here it says 5 volts. Well, now it's upside down for you. And then it says ground. Then it says VTX. So I'm assuming I got 1 ESC, 2 ESCs, 3, 4, and then battery. Then I have to get 5 volts. I can pull the 5 volts off of here to run my flight controller, but for my beeper and my low voltage alarm and that, I always like to have a VCC out to the flight controllers. So it tells me in my goggles that, you're getting low, or the buzzer goes on and says you're getting low. Yeah, set your timer in your controller. That's really the way to do it, because then you're guaranteed. She's just telling you, warning, warning. Alright, so now we're moving over to the next one. This one also, like this one, has an onboard 12 volts and 5 volts, except it's not covered with a shield like this one is. All the pods for the ESCs are one big thing, and this could be a good thing or a bad thing, but the other thing I'd like to mention is that this one has positive all on one side and negative all on the other side. So the issue with this is all your wires have to really come all the way across to get back and forth. Whereas, I mean, even this little cheap board has positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, you know. So, I mean, this one went through all the work to put all this electronics on, but yet it stacked the negative and stacked the positive. And they put on an LED out with switch. Right here, an LED out with switch. Now, how many times do you think you're going to be able to turn that switch on and off? I think if you were doing it once, you'd be fine, but if every night you wanted to turn the LEDs on, I think the thing probably lasts 2 weeks, and that's pushing it. I don't know. A switch for your LEDs, right? Most of these new flight controllers, NAS32, CCD3D, I think, derivatives, have an LED page where you can set up all the LEDs. You can put turn signals on. You can put throttle where it's like you're running a Star Wars speeder or whatever. So, yes, I use this board because it's cheap and it's got an onboard 5 and 12 volts. I don't use the LED at all. I don't like the fact that I have to cross my wires across to get the negative and positive from my ESCs that are sitting in the corners. And then that leaves us with this last board, which is really nice. I mean, it's a piece of work. Let me see. We'll put it on here just to be fair. Alright. Alright. This one's the Maytech Mini Power Hub. This one also has onboard 5 and 12 volts. It's got 2 fancy LED lights that tell you that it's within, I don't know, 0.01 tenth of a percent of the voltage it's supposed to be at. This one is nice because it has the positive, negative next to each other, so your ESCs can just come flying right into them. It has a nice big battery, positive and negative here, and then it has a VCC out to go to your flight controller to tell the OST that, hey, your battery's running out. And then it's got some special stuff on the other side of the board. they claim this is a 2-ounce 4-layer chip. So here's the other side of the board. And on this side of the board, you can see it has a positive, negative, and signal for camera. And then it has a positive, negative, and, well, negative, positive, and signal. Sorry, negative, positive, and camera. They're the signal for your VTX. So you can pass your video through the board. Now, I'm not sure if there's a filter on there or what, but I imagine there is some kind of filter on there. And then you can decide by the jumpers on either side whether you want 5 volts, 12 volts, or battery voltage to go to those corresponding pads. So here's how it works, I think. Actually, for the VTX side, you're only allowed 12 volts and then battery voltage. So if you jump for this pad with solder, you'll get battery voltage off the positive. If you jumper the 12 volts here with solder, you'll get 12 volts on the positive. Now, I'm not sure if it's passing 5 now or what, or if it's passing anything. I doubt it's passing anything right now. So then we go to the camera side, and hopefully you can see this. It has a similar setup. You jumper this solder pad at the end and it'll give you 12 volts. You jumper this solder pad in the middle and it'll give you 5 volts off the positive here. Not here. You wouldn't solder here. This is just the jumper pad. Then you solder this VCC and it'll give you battery voltage here. Now I've used this board and I haven't used it long enough to know a lot about it, but I set it up just like I would set up this board. And this board, I didn't use any of this camera stuff over here, or I didn't solder any of the jumpers or any of it. What I do is, because all cameras and VTXs now run, what does it say here? It says here on this 600 milliwatt that it runs from 7 to 24 volts. So this thing will run anywhere from 7 to 24 volts, right? And the 200 milliwatt one, it says here that it'll run from 7 to 24 volts. So this one will run from 7 to 24 volts, right? And my OSD here, this thing is a hungry hog. It doesn't like to run with anything else on its line. It don't like if you pull off the receiver. It don't like if you pull off another pin off the ESC chain. It don't like it. It likes to have its own dedicated 5 volts running it. So what I do is I use the 12 volts. I run 3 cell. Sometimes I'll run a 4 cell, but I run 3 cell. And 3 cell is already below 12 volts. So I'm getting battery voltage per se out of this 12 volt line because I'm running below 11.4 volts fully charged or whatever, and then 10.6 dead. Okay, so it's never giving me 12 volts unless there's a boost buck on these, and there's no boost buck on any of these from what I understand, and that would boost the voltage so that it was given 12 volts out of those lines, which it's not. But the cool thing is, if you just plug in a 4 cell, you're covered. You're not going to go over 12 volts. Let's say if you have a 12 volt camera, or let's say you have a VTX that handles 5 volts or low voltage like that. These will handle up to, I don't know, what's this, a 6 cell at 24 volts. So that's a lot, but this will only handle 5. So I power this off the 5 volts here, and if I need another 5, pardon me, rarely I do, because this flight controller actually has onboard 5 volts, and it powers itself, plus supply 3.3 volt receiver off of the VCC line from the PDB. This is that Maytech board in there, and on this side you have the 5 and 12 volts. I'm not decided if I'm putting an OSD in here yet, or a buzzer. It's either one or the other. I think it's going to be the OSD, but that'll run off the 5 volts there, and it'll have a good strong thing, whereas this is supplying itself 5 volts and then supplying this 3 volts. And I'm not using LEDs or a buzzer now, but this has its onboard buzzer and an onboard LED out if you were to use LEDs. And then because you only have 4, I'm only using 4 motors, I can throw in a couple more plugs and pull 5 volts off of it. This is the Seriously Dodo, and it says it'll produce about 500 milliwatts, which is quite a bit, but you don't want to pull much more than that. You risk frying something. Alright, that's it for another one of my stories. PDBs. Yeah, what can I say? These look almost identical. You can tell though. This is much. I mean, this is 100 on it, and this says 6R8. But look at the. I wish I can tell you what those are. But they look bigger and beefier. And it looks like there's a few more of them. No, they're the same amount. This one has some other kind of chip. No, it doesn't. It just has 1 chip instead, whereas this one has 2. So, get this one because it's cheap. It does the job, except it's a waste of space. This one I just tried, so I cannot recommend it. And already I don't get what this little sideboard is for. I wonder if you could break it off. I wonder if it's part of the casting. It looks like it's got a little something on there. Again, this one's got 5 and 12 volts, which is nice. You know, 12 on one side, 5 on the other. It's got 2 of each, so if you had a couple of things you had to power, you could do it. It has the positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So I'll let you know after I get something going through there. Not that I pull a lot of watts. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later on.